He's Denny Hamlin, driver of the number 11 FedEx Toyota, now watching NASCAR. Could you race today if you had to, Denny?
Yeah, I could. I feel definitely not 100%, but, I'm walking around like I was before, and, I'd be a little bit crippled, but I definitely could do it, that's for sure.
Explain the injury.
Well, it's just, my spine is now sliced into two different pieces, the upper half and the bottom half. So, the good part about it is when I fractured my spine, it basically just took a slice out of it, and it's sitting on top of each other. So the good news is it hasn't shifted and things like that. So really it's just my spine's in two different pieces, but it's molding itself back to each side. So that's what we got to wait on. Is they're not going to clear me until those two pieces have molded themselves together.
How much pain initially?
A lot. The most I've ever had to endure, and that's that was the tough part. Is when it happened, I couldn't breathe, and so I was struggling to get out of the car to get in a horizontal position so I could start breathing again. So it was a little bit of a panic there for about a minute or so.
But I would imagine paralysis would be, I don't know if that's the first thing on your mind, but it had to go through your mind, did it?
It did. I knew that I had something really wrong with my spine when I hit. I knew that, something behind me was not correct and in line. And that's the reason, basically, that they're keeping me out of the car right now is that, everything is in line, which is good. But if you take another hit, and, of course, the two pieces of my spine are not together right now, so what will happen is they will move and shift, and if one of them hits that spinal cord, when it shatters, then, of course, you have to deal with paralysis. So that's something that they, nor NASCAR or I want to be a part of at this moment.
Anybody tell you not to race again?
No, I don't think that that's really any question for me. It's what I love to do, and it's going to kill me these next 6 weeks to watch, especially knowing that I feel okay and feel good enough to drive, but knowing that there's reasons why I'm not able to drive, and that's the frustrating part.
You watch a tape of the end of that race?
Yeah, I've seen it, multiple times. I've went through it. I felt it. There's nothing about it that I don't remember.
Is there, after looking at it and removing yourself from it a little bit, is there any sympathy at all to Joey Logano?
I don't have any, that's for sure. I mean, the tough part for me is that, first he did mean it, then he didn't mean it, and then he did mean it. So for me, I just think he's stuck on the fence of whether it was intentional or not. Obviously, if it wasn't intentional, it was probably the worst case of car control I've ever seen as a driver.
The thing I'm curious about after the fact, though, Denny, is NASCAR didn't do anything to Logano. Even Tony Stewart's comments after, where he was sticking up for you, it seemed like NASCAR embraced this, that they didn't punish anybody. How do you feel about that?
Well, I agree with that. I mean, I don't think that you can penalize everyone who has an incident. Obviously, with us having history, that played into it more than likely. But, I think that what they encouraged was the type of racing they saw at the end. Not necessarily the two cars wrecking, but, very close quarters at the end, the side-by-side, what was going to be side-by-side finish. All that was what NASCAR is about and what they hoped this new car was going to bring. And I think that really it was a great example of what NASCAR racing is capable of being at the end of these races.
But you got fined for critiquing the new car, $25,000, and then this happens. Logano isn't disciplined. Tony Stewart's not even disciplined for his comments after the race. I mean, I'm just trying to figure out the penalties and how they dole it out in NASCAR. I think NASCAR appreciated what happened, but they're not going to say that publicly.
Yeah, I mean, I think controversy and rivalries and all that is what NASCAR was built on in 1979 with the first televised Daytona 500 when two drivers got in a fight right after on the white flag lap. And that was all pretty much the same thing played out here in 2013 at California, except, there wasn't punches landed, so it's kind of like the old school type of racing that NASCAR was founded, and the reason it got so popular, and why NASCAR really, they probably smile behind closed doors, because this is kind of what the rivalries is what NASCAR was built on, and they're starting to get that back.
He's Denny Hamlin, driver of the number 11 FedEx Toyota, joining us on the program. If you could have gotten out of the car and got to Joey Logano, what would have happened?
I don't know. I definitely would have approached him for sure. Whether it would have been in a manner that Tony did, I don't know. But obviously, we've had our incidents 2 weeks in a row, and I've been on the short end of both sticks. He ran into me 3 times at Bristol for my once. He ran into me twice at California to my 0 times to him. So, he's finished well. I've finished worse in both instances, and now I've got to sit for 6 weeks. So I can assure you, that, going forward, our relationship is different. It will be different on the track from this point forward, and we'll just have to see where it goes.
You guys exchanged text messages, no phone calls, right?
Yeah, it was short, though. I mean, it was kind of he sent a text like he talked about a couple days ago, just saying, hope you get back to the track soon. And I expressed my displeasure in one short text, and it was over with. So, like I said, it's going to take a while for things to smooth over. But unfortunately, I've got 6 weeks to sit in the pit box and watch racing.
What did your text say to him? You can say it now.
I don't know. I just was displeased, and obviously was discouraged that he just wouldn't leave well enough alone at Bristol. They had to keep things going, and for me, obviously, I'm the one who paid the ultimate price of what he decided to do at the end. Did
you have two words or 2 letters that you sent to him?
No, it was a couple sentences, but there was, I didn't get too vulgar with it. Really, I just was disappointed that we couldn't have just let things blow over and move on from it. We had to keep it going.
Well, enjoy the sights. We're not going to use the simulator that you brought in just as a show of support. Once you get back in your car, then we'll get back in the simulator you brought in.
It makes sense. I may have to come there and do some practice, knock the rust off. You might have to drop a patch bucket on his head every now and then.
Hey, good to visit with you, Denny, and hope you feel better.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right. Denny Hamlin, driver of the number 11 FedEx Toyota. Yeah, I'd heard he had sent 2 letters to Joey Logano. Maybe a couple sentences, but I heard, I don't know if it started with FU or it ended with FU.